Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Finance, Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee. Welcome to our two new members. Congratulations on your elections in May, and congratulations on your appointment immediately to the best of the Council's committees. Thanks, of course, to members who chair other committees, and to those members who have stepped down or been removed from this committee since we last met. Item number 1 is apologies for absence. I have received 2 apologies for absence. The first is Mr. Mayor, Councillor Robert Beckley-Smith, who is being substituted tonight by Councillor Joan Wheeldon. And the second apology I have is Councillor Lawley. Is she being substituted? Not tonight. Are there any other apologies for absence? Councillor Grocott.
But seeing apologies for Councillor Allport as well by looks, so it's Chair. Okay.
Thank you very much. Item number 2 then is declarations of interest. Is there any member with a declaration of interest to make? No. Item number 3, minutes of the last meeting. Can I approve those as a correct record? I have checked that every councillor's name is spelt correctly on these minutes. Are there any additional corrections? Councillor Stubbs.
Not a correction, Chair. It's just that there was a question asked that's mentioned on the bottom of page 5, top of page 6. You suggested that the Deputy Chief Exec could come back with an update on how we use data and how we can bring data together across the council.
Does the Deputy Chief Executive have an update to make or a comment on that?
In progress.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is in progress. Also, from the minutes in progress, we are going to be visited at one of our meetings by the Service Director for IT. That will occur later on in the year. I know members had some quite technical questions relating to digitalisation, so we may have an opportunity to look at that as well as to receive further from the Deputy Chief Executive in the future. If there are no other corrections or comments on the minutes, I will sign those. Thank you very much. Item number 4 then, the first substantive item, is the financial and performance review report for the 4th quarter of the last financial year. For members new to the committee, we will consider the report and then we will look at the performance indicators themselves. We will typically look at any indicator that is red rated, but you are entitled, should you wish, to question any of the performance indicators. Anything to do with finance and resources is this committee's responsibility, but if you ask a question that requires detailed scrutiny of a service area outside of our responsibility, it will be politely passed to one of the other scrutiny committees. But yeah, there is nothing you cannot ask on the report, so feel free to stop us if there is anything that you want to pick up on. And of course, to well-seasoned members of the committee, I'm sure you will do the same. I will ask Councillor Sweeney to introduce the item, and then we'll look at the report and the indicators. Thank you, Councillor Sweeney.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, as usual with this report, I mean, it's a standard report. It comes every quarter. This is the final year-end version of it. And the one that I always focus on is at the close of quarter 4, a positive variance of £20,000 has been achieved. The projected outturn of the general fund revenue account for the year is 70.026 million. Now, I think that's the bit that I'm always interested in. I feel most people in the committee are interested in it. The following pages concern various details of where the council is at the moment. We didn't used to put much information on this a couple of years ago, but we put as much on as we could possibly find now. So I'm very, very happy to take any questions. And if I can't answer them, I'm sure I know somebody who can. Thank you.
Phenomenal. Thank you very much. And thanks to the administration and our officers for that positive variance of 20,000 at the end of the last financial year. Are there any questions or comments, first of all, on the report or Appendix A? Councillor Stubbs.
Thank you, Chair. Just thanks. I think we'll probably go into a lot more detail on the Kiswick Town deal, but can I thank the author of the report? It's finally flagged as an amber warning on the report, and I think it's something that should be on there. We can obviously get into the crux of it during the next agenda item, but I just want to place on record my thanks for being mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any other comments on the report? In that case, we will move on to the indicators themselves. The first of the red indicators is on the second page, and it is percentage of Category A and food business inspections completed on time. We did look at this before. Because it is a cumulative indicator, it is still red, but the rubric tells me that things have improved. Councillor Sweeney, do you have any update to give?
I have a little one, and I'll pass over to Vanessa if she thinks something else. Quarter one was 100%, and quarter four is 100%. We had a staff absence. That person has now been replaced. They're fully up to strength now, and that can be seen by the fact it's 100% now. Anything, it's the 2 months in the middle of it that brought it down. But have you got anything else to add, Vanessa? Is that okay?
Excellent. Are there any further on that? If not, the next red indicator is the one immediately below. It's percentage of stage 1 complaints processed in time being 20 working days. This is another of those cumulative targets, and it is a narrow miss at the end of the year. Do you have any comments, Councillor Sweeney?
Not again a huge amount to say really. The quarter three was 80.65, and now it's up to 83.33 because we're recovering again what was lost earlier in the year. I've got nothing else to add. Vanessa, have you got anything? No.
Okay, the next one on my list then is 1.11 percentage of council tax collected. The target was 97.5%. The achieved at the end of the last year then was 96.8, off target by 0.7%. Councillor Sweeney, have you had the fingernail pliers or the kneecap hammers out?
No, I'm not like that, Councillor Holland. I'm far too nice, aren't I? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Jane. However, I did ask people to have a little route round why this is off target. And what they did, this is as of the end of March. It says on here something about bills that may be achieved, on target by collection continuing for 24-25. So I've asked them, well, how much have we taken in April and May? What, that money's put into the previous years, which it belongs to the previous years. It's not this year's, it's last year's. And if you put that into the mix, the 96.8 suddenly becomes 97.4%. And then there's also what we've picked up in June, which I haven't looked at that because I did this when it was cabinet last month. But so I think it's fair to say it's actually 97.4%, and it's just been caught up by people paying up later. So I'm reasonably content with that.
Okay, members of the committee reasonably content. Councillor Waring.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that target is for the whole year's receipts rather than what you actually received by the end of March.
That's up.
Yeah.
That target it's a bit of both. It is the whole year, but it's what received by the end of March. But there is work being done after the end of March relating to the previous year. So it doesn't seem unfair to put that figure back into where it belongs.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what's happened.
The only downside to that is you'd have to take it out of next year's figure. So how they do it is fine. It just means that we slightly missed, and that's fine. My question really is, moving forward, obviously there's a government review on council tax that's come out that's only going to have an effect of pushing down collection rates. What's the collective thought of the senior management team? One, have we actually responded to the consultation yet? And two, will it have what effect will it have? My take is that it will slightly reduce. Well, it makes it easier to miss targets when it comes to collection. Is that right?
The consultation is still open. We are working on, and we will be responding to the consultation. In respect of collection rates, there's so many variables that can impact on that, as in people's circumstances as to why they pay or they don't pay, for example. So I'm not sure that the actual change will impact massively on those rates, and we'll know a bit more obviously as we are carrying on working through the consultation. I think it's just something we're just going to have to monitor, and if it is that we need to adjust that target for the following year, then obviously we'll know a bit more about obviously the results of the consultation, then we can take it from there.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeldon.
Could I ask Councillor Stubbs, in what way does he think that the changes in collection of council tax will actually, why does he think it will impact? For what reason and how and when? What's the impact of it on our citizens?
Okay. The very simple thing is, rightly or wrongly, collection of council tax is one of the most draconian debts that can be chased. The rules around debt collection on council tax are very, very strict and very, very, for example, if I didn't pay somebody, a business, the steps that the business would have to go through to get the money back is 10 times longer than it would be for a council to reclaim council tax that's in arrears. You don't have to believe me, believe Martin Lewis. I believe him. He's one of the architects of that's pushed against the government for so long about how mean, that's not a real word, but how mean councils can be due to the laws around collection of arrears of council tax. What the consultation is looking at is relaxing those rules a little bit, which might be better for high-risk families. But the problem is, and most people also admit this, it also leaves it a little bit more open to abuse. So that's how it might affect our collection rates, because if people feel that there isn't the same.
Can I ask you again, what are the changes that is going to cause this impact? You said changes will cause.
Human behaviour will change if the rules. Well,
What's? You're not answering my question.
No, well, I am. I'm not giving you the question.
He has given an account of an open public consultation. Completely understand that. I think for more detail, we will have to go away and outside the meeting and do our own research, or even have a conversation.
I'm more than happy to share that with you. Yeah.
Brilliant. We will all become more educated on this issue. Our officers have advised us that the consultation is still open. This authority, like others, will make representations to the government, and we will discover when the government responds to that consultation what action it will take. Happily, it's an indicator. It's obviously a key performance indicator for the council. It will continue to be going forward, and we will be able to measure any change that results from a change in government policy. So I am reasonably satisfied that we have the tools available to us to scrutinise that in the future. And as far as tonight's figure goes, we've heard from the portfolio holder that we've done to his satisfaction. We have collected as much council tax as we can this year. Okay, the next indicator that is red is 1.8a, the total number of digital online transactions. I don't propose to go into huge detail on this because we've discussed it very recently, but if Councillor Sweeney would like to give a comment on it, he'd be welcome.
Yeah, last time I spoke on this, I got myself tied in knots, and I think you're thinking, so if you don't mind, I'm going to pass over Vanessa. I'm sure we'll speak more sensibly than perhaps I might.
Welcome, Vanessa. I don't think you've been to one of these before, but please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think what might be helpful is I've just asked for a few examples from technology services as to where the improvement is in terms of we're putting more information on our website and we're guiding people to the right pages. And what that's doing is that people no longer need to submit a form asking a question. And I think that's what he's saying in the narratives. That's part of the reason why we're dipping beneath this 75,000 target. So, for example, just to bring it to life a little bit. So one of the things people had been putting forms in for was if they'd got an untidy garden report, so for neighbour. So what we've done with that, we tried to put more information in terms of what is our definition of an untidy garden, because it might not meet what the customer thinks it is. And therefore that's unnecessary demand for us. And also if it's someone who's a tenant of Aspire, then the route for them is to go to Aspire, not to ourselves. So we've put better information out, and what impact that's having is that at the end of March, only 13 reports came in during that month. Whereas early in the year, before we'd sort of, got that information tidied up, we were getting 30 or 42 in a month. So that's just one example. There are other examples around noise complaints, where we're sort of trying to do this triage approach now when people are trying to put a complaint in. So if your neighbour had a party last night, that might not meet our definition of a noise complaint. So we're trying to tighten those up. Again, we've gone from a height of 60 in a month down to 30 or 40. And you can see again, general inquiries down from 220 to 166. So all these processes have been tightened up. And that's one of the reasons why we're getting less forms, which isn't a bad thing in that instance. We're getting better about the information that we put out. So I hope that's helpful.
Thanks very much to our officer for that. That is an example of what we discussed at a previous meeting of a reason why the numbers, the raw numbers of reports might be smaller than the target number. Would any councillors like to ask a further question of our officer at this point? No, in that case, we shall move on. We will scroll past a number of glowing, wonderful indicators and the amber alert relating to Wally's quarry. The next red indicator I have is ID 1.4a, total percent of materials collected for recycling and composting verified via WDF. This again is a cumulative target that has been narrowly missed at the end of the financial year, 48.1 as against 50%. Councillor Sweeney, do you have any comment?
Yeah, I read the reasons for this, and it's a bit bland. So I've asked the officer if you could sort of change it around a bit, make it a bit more relevant. I'm just reading what he says. The council remains one of the top performing councils in recycling in Staffordshire, and is in the upper quartile of performance within England. The national recycling rate is around 44%, 48.1 in there. With the introduction of flexible plastics and cartons, and the fact that the council already collects food waste means we are compliant with the government's requirements for simpler recycling 2 years early. Our focus remains on increasing food waste participation, removing more food out of the grey bins into separate food waste bins. Food waste is also in the process of being rolled out to all flats within the borough. Now, I first got elected in 2006, and in 2006 we were talking about take-up of recycling in flats, and it's been a long process, and it's still going on now. But the officer seems fairly content with all the new things we're recycling, all the plastics and all that, and the pushing for garden waste. The 48.1 should become half. So basically, you got your black rubbish bin here, you got everything else. That's 50%. That's 50%. That's what those things actually mean. And we're just a little bit off, but they seem fairly confident when I spoke to them that we'll achieve that very soon. Any more, Vanessa? No.
Councillor Waring.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say that the manufacturers are trying to reduce the amount of packaging that's in things generally, and now most of that can be recycled, or a lot of it can be recycled, but the fact that the packaging is reduced means that ultimately we'll have less to recycle. So I think it's a tricky thing to actually measure, because if the manufacturers do a better job, then it'll appear that we're doing a worse job. So.
I'd say that's correct, yes. Extended producer liability has meant that any manufacturer that is putting out a lot of packaging is doing their utmost to reduce it, and of course to replace previously unrecyclable forms of packaging with packaging that can be recycled, that can be deposited into a system like ours. And as the report indicates, we are now recycling even more than before with the inclusion of flexible plastics in our recycling regime. Any other comments, Councillor Stubbs?
It's a general question. I know that a levy on garden waste is the right thing to do. Do we think the current value makes it out of reach for some families in the borough? Give an example. Use myself as an example. I've only got a back garden. I would love to be able to, recycle the grass cuttings, but the charge doesn't make it worthwhile for me to have that if I'm only going to use it once or twice in the summer months. Is have we got the right pricing on the recycling that we could probably bring in more? Because, I mean, I use the normal bin for my grass cuttings. I don't want to do that, but at the same time, I'm not going to pay for something I'm only going to use once, maybe twice a month. A year, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, it's a fair point. One of our councillors is by himself, and he does the same as you. He's got a little garden; it just goes straight in the black bin. I think we charge a very competitive price. It's all been checked across the county to make sure that nobody's paying more than we should do. But I know the point you're making. I don't disagree with the point you're making, but how you quite do it would be the thing. Yeah. Because this other councillor, you could probably work out is exactly the same boat. But it's an interesting point. Okay.
Thank you for that answer, Councillor Sweeney. Okay, immediately following that red indicator are a number of fine indicators, including a string of 100% within the environment detritus, street cleanliness areas. And I think that may be our penultimate red indicator. And in fact, yes, the last one is ID 4.1, car parking usage, number of tickets purchased. This again is another of those cumulative indicators. And the target at year end, 340,000, target achieved 326,847. And we have discussed at a previous meeting what that might mean. But Councillor Sweeney, do you have an update to give?
I think the car park in the moment, I think, is in a state of flux in the borough, with all the regeneration developments that are going on in the town centre. People having permits. If you've got a permit to come every day for 3 months, what's that? 72 visits a month, and you only get 1 ticket. So is that how we look at it? Is a different way? Do we do it on the capacity of the car park? How full the car park is or not? So it's a thing. It's a thing we're looking at, because we're not convinced we're doing it the right way, just purely and simply on number of tickets sold. And I'm not. You got anything else, Vanessa? Simon?
Through you, Chair. Yeah.
The only thing is that we're seeing less visitors to the town centre, which means we've less cars coming in, meaning less car parking tickets issued, and it isn't. It is across all of our car parks. So it is. If you look at the 4.2 underneath town centre footfall, that is also below target year on year. So it is actually, although it's not a target, you can see it is less than last year, and the car parking ticket issuing follows a similar trend.
Just point out that the footfall, the first quarter, there was never any figures put in, which is why it looks like it's down. If you look at the chart, there's nothing in the first quarter. We can get the information off the bid, which is why that's down. But yeah, the car park, it's the thing we're looking at. For fairly obvious reason. Now there's going to be a lot of construction traffic coming on. Around the 600 people living in the town centre. So there's different things to look at, but we're not. Like I say, it's in a state of flux, and we'll come back. The new results are going to be out in a week's time, and we take it from there. Okay, thank you.
Any questions on this one, Councillor Stubbs?
Thank you, Chair. So it's not so much just on this. I would say missing by 13,000 isn't slightly off target. That's quite a lot of visits, and I take everything that you've just said as well. So my wider point is we've gone through 3 or 4 tonight of these targets that we know aren't quite right, and I'm quite happy to work with people to. What changes, if any, are going to be made to these targets between now and Q1 of?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing, and then I'll pass you over to Vanessa, who knows more about these things than I do. For example, the target for car park is 240,000 tickets. Where's that figure come from? Why is it 240? Why isn't it 1 million? Why isn't it 50? You know, where's 240,000? I don't know. So we're looking at these, and I think you know more about this than I do, the rest, don't you? The sort of thing, because these were set, they were very hard targets set from last year's, and some of them might not be achievable, some of them might be, and the whole thing wants looking at really, I think. You got anything to add to that, Vanessa?
Yeah, you're quite correct. Yeah, I mean, the process that we have internally is that we have like a business planning process, obviously for priority delivery plans, where all the service directors look at performance. We do a value for money exercise to see how we're performing against other councils, and then we use that to sort of judge where the targets are at. That process has gone through internally through the leadership team, and it's gone through informal cabinet. We're making a few amendments in terms which you'll see in the Q1 report. So some new measures around disabled facilities grants, looking at whether some of these indicators might be better as a contextual measure. So where we monitor what's happening, but maybe not always a target is appropriate. So yeah, there's a few tweaks. Some of the targets are staying the same. But as a committee, you'll obviously get to see that in the Q1 report when it comes through.
Thank you, Chair. Two things. I think I agree that some of the targets may not be achievable, but they're the targets. So it's all well and good saying at Q4, oh, I'm sorry, we've missed the target. We weren't achievable for the first, second, third, and fourth. All that people aren't listening to this tonight. They'll just read in the papers that you've missed the target. So might I suggest it's too late for this year going forward. If you propose, and I'm not saying that we need to sign it off, but might it be a good idea that this time around next year that we get to scrutinise the changes that you want to make to the performance targets, so that we can weigh in to say, well, is that target too high? Is that target too low? It's not meant to be any sort of stop. The administration will set their own targets, but I don't think it's unreasonable for us to offer suggestions as well to the targets that you want to set. Only for the new ones, obviously, we won't do them all.
Before I ask the officer or the portfolio holder to respond, would you like to suggest, Councillor Stubbs, what you think the target should be and what it should be measuring? Because we're entitled, you're quite right. The administration sets these targets. They appear at Cabinet before they come to us. They are useful to us, but they are more useful to the administration in measuring the work of the council. It's well within our remit to suggest that a target is the wrong target, the wrong level, and it's well within our remit to say, is there a better way we could be measuring these things? But it's probably more likely than not that the administration will set the target, and next year we will have the same opportunity to reflect on that. But if you wanted to make, as I say, this is the next set of targets are going to come very soon. But if anyone on the committee would like to make suggestions, I know the deputy leader, the portfolio holder is listening.
I absolutely don't think that we should be setting targets. Not at all. What I'm suggesting is that where there are either new targets brought in or changes to targets, that they can be flagged up at the finance meeting before the start of the financial year. And we can say, well, okay, how have you come to that target? How have you reached that reduction? How have you reached the addition? Things like that. I don't think we should be setting targets, and I don't suggest for a second that we should be saying, oh, we think you should go up by 10,000. We can offer an opinion as a scrutiny committee to think that, well, you've played that down a little bit, or actually, have you set yourself a really hard target there? That's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
I'll invite Councillor Sweeney to respond, but if it's on the same point, I'll ask Councillor Waring to come in first.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I would have said that what we're trying to measure here is the number of people, isn't it? So what we want to know is whether the numbers are decreasing or whether they're increasing. So we need to make sure that however we measure it, we keep things constant from year to year so that it gives us an accurate picture. So if we're selling tickets, for instance, that last for a week or a month, then that should reflect the likely number of times that people come into the town. So if you sell a weekly ticket, then you'd have to make an assumption that they come 5 times or something like that. Similarly, if they come in on a monthly basis, you'd have to assume that it's 20 times. So you just need to include those things so that you get a fair output from your numbers. But I mean, the actual number itself isn't particularly relevant. It's the trend that's actually coming from. The only time the number is relevant is when we look at the income and whether we end up losing money on it. So that's my two penneth.
Okay, Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, going on from Councillor Waring, my comment was going to be regarding J2 memberships, those that use them, because as part of the J2 membership, they are allocated free parking. Now, in the numbers given, every printed ticket from J2 is that A, gone on to this figure, and also I've noticed when I was a member of J2 that their only allocated parking is for School Street and the car park that's the back of where Howard's Timber is. Could a suggestion be for those that are using the J2 if they could expand to other car park areas such as Windsor Street, Hassel Street, etc., even the small one on the Rycroft within a vicinity? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I'll ponder about that. Obviously the administration will set the targets, as you're well aware. That's our role in life. But I'll say we'll have a debrief, an informal cabinet about this meeting, and that's certainly a point you're making. I think it's certainly something I'll bring up with the leader. That once we set, like I say, that 340,000. Yeah, where's that come from? I don't got a clue. Somebody set it. Well, there must be some methodology behind it. Now I don't know what that is, but there must be something. They just made it up, have they? So yeah, no, it's I'll take it. I'll take it to inform. Thank you.
Okay, and did you have any thoughts? You're going to ponder what Councillor Parker said? Yes. Excellent. Are there any further questions on that particular performance indicator? This is the level at which we're operating, Councillor Parker. In that case, that concludes the discussion on the Financial Performance Review Report. We will, of course, have the next quarter to come. Councillor Parker, go ahead.
Just one more thing, please, Chair, before we close. I've noticed in previous meetings all these indicators that we have, and on this particular report, excuse my ignorance if it was other meetings spoke about, that's why I was unfortunate to attend, but it's to do with the absenteeism of staff. Notice that this chart hasn't appeared on this report. Can you or any of the officers give an explanation on that, please?
We have certainly discussed staff absences in the past, but Councillor Sweeney.
No, I can't. I'm pass you to the officers, so I'm sure they've got an answer for you.
The answer is going to be in two parts. Me saying, yes, it's in the report. And the second part is somebody telling you which bit of the report it's going to be in 2 seconds.
It is on the report. It's ID 1.13 and ID 1.14, which is the number of sickness days and the staff turnover. I think they're the two that you're looking for, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that is on
page 4 of 24.
There you go, page 4 of 24. ID 1.13 and ID 1.14. They're at the top and they're marked in amber. Oh.
I couldn't get on the modern Gov, so I'm just using the internet, and that's exactly what I've got.
I can't either.
I can't see it.
Yeah.
I remember that's the one got a piece of copy, not that.
Sorry?
I just watched it in 113.
That's why.
We're looking at it. Yeah. Okay. So there must be this all the time.
Right. Okay, so we'll get you a copy, Councillor Parker, or we can show you after the meeting, but they're definitely in the report.
My apologies that I don't have it in front of me and making accusations that it wasn't there, so I stand correct.
That's okay. Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, people might not know this, but Councillor Parker's my next door neighbour. So once I've finished pondering, I will take this report over to him and show it to him. Thank you.
I will pop at door.
Well, perhaps next time we shall ask. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Waring. I can see the things too. I'm on the council's website, the version of the agenda that appears there, and they are visible to me. But I would be concerned if lots of members are struggling to see information that should have been circulated.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I read it earlier and I knew I'd seen those somewhere, so I've just found them again. And I'm just on the Modern Gov public site. I just logged into it, so it must be there somewhere.
It's okay. We will survive and thrive. We're going to look into that. Both of the indicators that Councillor Parker mentioned, I won't go into them because they're both amber rated, but they are both positive yearly trend. So we discussed, when we did discuss this in detail at previous meetings, we were looking as to whether or not those figures were going to be recovering generally over the course of time or getting worse. And both of those indicators, positive annual trend on those. Okay, if there are no further comments on that report, we'll close it. We'll move on to the Town Deal and Future High Streets Fund update. For anyone who is lucky enough to be on the Economy in Place Scrutiny Committee, you have already seen this. And for some of us, I was there as a substitute, I think. But for those of us who aren't on, this will be our first opportunity to take a look at this in the current municipal year. Would the portfolio holder like to begin and then probably pass on to the Deputy Chief Executive, who is definitely itching to say something about this?
Yeah, I'll just run through it quickly if I can. The reports here, it's fairly self-explanatory. Because of the Future High Street Fund, we're just left with the market improvements. Now, there's some gossip going around on the internet, probably on Facebook, that the big television screen at the bottom of the High Street isn't going to happen. Well, it is. It should be starting work tomorrow, but I think there's been a delay because Severn Trent are messing about because there's a water pipe that goes underneath it, and Severn Trent want to make sure our engineers do it right because Severn Trent is such a wonderfully efficient organisation. So it's been a bit of a delay, but the stuff's all booked in. It's all ready to go. It's just waiting for Severn Trent to clear it off. Astley Place, I think if you see Astley Place now, you can see the quite superb job, really. I think the Cabinet Secretary had done is stripping all the rubbish away and just leaving the bare concrete and the girders. You can see the sort of skeleton of what they're going to do, and that's all there. Very nice, clean job. That's looking good. Nice picture of it on here. Castle Car Park, that's up and running. Like I said, I tend to go every Saturday, and it's clean, it's fresh, it's airy, it's bright, it's well lit. It's a tremendous improvement, in my opinion, on the Midway. McCarthy Stone Residential, that's looking to start building, I think, late autumn. Rye Park, which is another part of the site there on the old Rycroft, again, that's looking the same sort of timing. I think by October, something like that, all these schemes now will be up and being built. So it's tremendously exciting time. So that's coming on. Look over the page. What we've got here, Midway Car Park. There's a picture there now. There's another picture I've seen that knocks that into act. To be honest with you, it's absolutely superb. And I think that's going to be on the website quite soon, and you'll be able to have a look at it. Instead of looking at it from the air, looking down, it's going to be on the ground, looking up, and it's absolutely superb. Astley Performing Arts Centre, there's a problem there at the moment because they're having to rebuild the floor because they didn't do it properly. No cost to us, but it's being redone at the moment. The Nutton site, I had a look at it before the last scrutiny committee, and it's all been cleared. It's all ready to go. There were these great big sort of sewer pipes that are about 2 yards across on site, but there doesn't see any building work at the moment. What else we got over the road? Turn the page over, Stephen. Yep, this is the industrial units on the edge of Nutton that are ready to go. I think there's a bit of a problem with electric supply, I think, with the county. It's a county building. Next picture down is on the Whammy. It's the sports pavilion on the Whammy that's being run by Newcastle Town. There's a picture in use there. It's a great facility for Nutton. I think it's tremendous. Cross Street Chesterton's all going along. Zanzibar Enterprise units, that's gone through planning now. Again, we're looking to start on that soon. We've got the industrial units at the bottom end of it. I think there's 5 there, Simon. Is it 5 units? 5 units we're putting there. They'll be ours. The rest of it, Kaplan Centric are working with Aspire, but it's be Aspire's property at the end of it. Walking and cycling provision, I think they're due to start that any day now. For the they're going to move the crossing on Barracks Road. That's about to start. Sustainable travel. If you got to Keele now, you'll see the work they're doing on the entrance of Keele, the old entrance. Digital Society, we were there yesterday. Great facility, and so important for the Borough Council to bring Keele University into the town centre rather than up on the hill away from everybody, not engaging with anybody. EV charging points at Castle Car Park, they're up and running. Digital infrastructure is coming along. The Kidsgrove Town deal, the Chatterley Valley, all finished as far as we're concerned. The canal pathways, I believe, are finished. And as for the Kidsgrove train station works and shared service hub, I'll pass you over to Deputy Chief Exec. No problems, mate. Who knows more about it than I do?
Thank you. Right, so we'll break this down into the shared service hub, which was a scheme, as you know, that was that isn't progressing, and the town deal board have now agreed that that money, the £6 million, will be subdivided into 4 new schemes: community facility on the King's Academy site, some enterprise units on the Meadows, some public realm and highway works, and some further works to the canal towpaths, etc. The process is that the town deal board, i.e. us, the council staff that support the town deal board, will put a change form into government to get that 6 million reallocated to those 4 projects. The MHCLG contact has already been working through this change with us and is confident that that change will be accepted, because they understand that the original proposal couldn't take place, and they are working with us to make sure that that money is spent, so that those reallocation forms will be sent through if in the next week or so we can then crack on with the design, procurement and construction of those 4 projects. A little bit more complicated on the Kidsgrove train station works, in that, as I think I explained last time, we can't do work to the site unless we've done a site remediation survey, and that survey will result in a cost of the remediation works. The government have now said that we only have that 3-point-something million to spend on the entire project. So if we have done the remediation works and the costs of remediation exceed the amount of allocation for the train station, we cannot do the remediation works, which means that the survey works are null and void. Therefore, it's a waste of money. Therefore, they'll want that money back, and that's too much of a risk for the council. So the town deal board have agreed that they will not do remediation works because of that risk and because of the uncertainty of the extent of the remediation works themselves, but will do works to the train station outside that ring that Network Rail have set for remediation work. So not all of the station sits in a remediation area. So EMR, who are the train operator, are now working on a scheme of works to the station, which will sit outside a remediation ring, and they will present that back to the council for consideration at the middle of July, for us to make sure that that actually makes sense, and then we will present that to the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board at the end of July for them to make a decision about what they will accept for the various options that EMR are going to come through. And they will predominantly be works to the train station building as is, so no new train station building, and works to the access and car parking to the train station at the front, but no new car parking or rejigging of the car parking, because some of the car park is in this remediation zone. So much smaller extent of works, but what we're waiting to find out is what that will actually mean and how that will bring that train station up to a standard that the people of Kidsgrove had asked for in the original consultation when we looked at the town deal board. So that's very much still being developed, but the shared service hub, the next meeting, it won't be the shared service hub. I will break those down by the 4 new individual projects and we'll report against those, and we will be able to explain what the works to the train station will be, because that will have been decided by the town deal board by the end of July.
Thank you very much, both, for the update. Would you like to go first, Councillor Stubbs? You don't have to.
I'll let everybody else.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions to ask or comments on the update? As the officer mentioned, there has been progress. There's been a meeting of the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board since we last looked at these things, and some of the questions that we couldn't answer before, we're now able to answer. Sorry to talk a lot about Kidsgrove. I think this decision or this development was published in the press. I'm looking at the article now as a 6.5 million plan that's been ditched, and that the plan for the town deal has been scrapped. Now, that doesn't appear to me to be the case. It looks to me as though the plan is evolving to meet what we can actually do. And from my perspective, the attitude to risk of both this authority as the accountable body delivering that town deal and the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board has been entirely proper here. It is a shame we can't have exactly what we would like to have, but as with so many things, that's not been possible, and we are working on, the council is working on alternatives that will deliver the same benefits for the people of Kidsgrove. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Wheeldon.
Just a comment with them talking about something being scrapped and it being, I mean, it's almost conspiracy theories, and then the big screen isn't going up. I know it is, but people are saying it isn't. It's rife. What might be helpful is if we used the multimedia to do progress reports so that people are informed it is happening, so that they get it from the horse's mouth rather than sitting in little groups and sort of hugging themselves and getting very cross.
Point entirely taken. I know that the council has a media and a communication strategy, but Councillor Sweeney, what would you say to going on TikTok to dispel some of the fake news? No, Councillor Wheeldon, you did not. I am merely coming to the table with ideas rolling off my synapses. Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah. TikTok, yeah, absolutely. TikTok, heaven knows what that is. But no, I had a lady stop me a month or two ago, actually. She says, can I have a word? So, yeah, go on, what is it? Only I've heard that the range, we're going to go into home base, like a Lyme Valley. And the council stopped them. Oh, where did you see that? Oh, I saw it on Facebook. Oh, there you go. Now that is wrong. Every inch of the way, that is wrong. You know, why would the council do it? It's not a council building. The council can't tell you who's going to go in there. It was just, but it's on, and I'm not convinced that putting the truth, if people have got that in their heads that it's not going to happen, then until it happens, you won't be able to sort of tell them otherwise. What we are looking to do is the pictures I was raving about for the new development will actually go on the screen as a sort of an update thing, as a spool around to show you the pictures of what it's going to be like, and that'll be done out. We can certainly put more stuff on our social media. I just think if people have got it in their heads, it's not going to happen. I mean, there's this lady saying to me about the range. Why would we do that? But she's seen it on Facebook, so it must be true. So we can certainly look at it, Joe. But I'm not sure you convince people if they've got it in their heads it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And it is. Yeah.
But if you don't counter it with an official response saying this is happening, this is the official site, we can give you a progress update every other month or something like that, then it cuts across at least 50-60% of the gossip and the wringing of hands. I mean, what we don't want to do is people end up getting very depressed about it all, and you know, already they say, what's the point of doing this, what's the point of doing that, we're not even having this, we're not even having that. You need to dispel those rumors and those conspiracy theories, and you can only do that by giving information from the horse's mouth. I do think communication is key.
Yeah, I think I'll pass it over to Mr. McKenney, I think, who's probably got this in hand, the comms on this particular thing.
We do try very hard to get press releases out and comments. The risk of getting into an argument on social media with somebody who doesn't believe you as a council is very tricky. Council officers cannot do it. Politicians probably could do it, but you're going to get into an argument all of the time. So as Councillor Sweeney says, if somebody doesn't want to believe you, they will not believe you, despite. If you think, for example, in the last 2 weeks, we've had this report delivered twice. I know it's the truth, you know it's the truth, but somebody might read it and go, well, that's a pack of lies. So I don't really know what to do with that. And we do the very best we can without defending ourselves daily, because that is what you're going to have to do on social media, and you will never win. You will never win on social media, I'm afraid, Joan.
So I take it we're going to go for the regal option of never explain, never complain.
I'm not sure that's what the portfolio holder or the officer said, but what I did hear is that the screen itself, when it's live in town, will itself be an instrument to counteract. The screen will tell the truth. It will counteract fake news. Councillor Waring.
I think one of the things that we've got to be careful of is that we all know that this project, the shared services hub, shall we say, has changed, and the danger is that the town deal board hasn't actually confirmed its precise decisions as to what it's doing yet. So if we start publicising things and then changing them, it becomes a bit of a fiasco, and you're left open for criticism. And I get people all the time telling me what's happening, and I know most of it's rubbish. And so when I actually correct them, then they actually realise that you're following a logical path. But the rumour mills can be so rife at times that some of the stuff's so far away from reality that it's very difficult to actually respond to them. Thanks.
Perhaps we could release a recording of this meeting as a podcast for the benefit of the people of the borough. If you're interested, Councillor Sweeney, there are options available. What I would say, in all seriousness, is that the attitude of the administration and members of the cabinet that is positive has been of huge benefit. And we've got people who, if they are asked the question, is this true, will give a straight answer. So given the opportunity, the Deputy Leader of the Council has been able to say to us, no, this is nonsense, and actually what's happening is much, much better than people might think if they are influenced by things that they read on social media that are false. And it's that positive attitude that has delivered, for example, the close working relationship between this authority and Capital and Centric that's delivering some of the town deal elements. It's that attitude which secured the town deals and the Future High Streets funding from government in the first place. And it's something that I'm happy to see continue. Councillor Waring.
The other thing, of course, is that under the terms of the agreement with the MHCLG and so on, it still has to meet its original objectives as well. So although the project may have changed, it still has to satisfy the original criteria. So although it's different, it should still provide the same ultimate benefits.
I think I speak for all of us when I say we're looking forward to seeing those benefits delivered for the people of Kidsgrove and, of course, for Newcastle in the Newcastle end of things. Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, I don't want to sort of overdo this stuff. I am genuinely excited at these developments. And I cannot wait to see cranes going up in the town centre. I don't know so much about Kidsgrove because I'm not on the board of Kidsgrove. Paul is. So Paul will speak better on that. But there's certainly stuff in the town centre here. I mean, I'm genuinely excited about it. I mean, the pictures we've had of Astley Place, it's just absolutely marvellous. And I'm really buzzing for it. I think it's going to be an excellent development. Thank you.
Okay, anything further on Kidsgrove? Councillor Stubbs.
Just to finish the conversation on the social media, I think some councillors have got short memories in this room in particular, that it will go in the direction that it goes in. So I will give you the example of Kidsgrove Leisure Centre that brought down an administration. A lot, 90% of what was put on social media was lies. It didn't stop certain councillors from different stripes fighting and not fighting against the social media tide. So we have to live by the sword and die by the sword. And I can talk with experience on this because I'm probably the only one in the room that had to take out a community resolution order against a member of the public for online abuse. So I understand as well as anybody how this can affect individuals, the authority, the administration. I don't want to see it for anybody, but I don't want us to be in a glass house because at the same time, there's people in this room have thrown stones. So I just want us to be fair. Do I think it's right what was in the Sentinel? No, I don't. Do I think it's right, which is on certain forums on Facebook? No, I don't. But you only counter the with truth. And I agree with you, Joan. You do have to fight back, but it's incredibly difficult. No, I think you do have to. No,
I did not say.
What you don't. What you don't want to fight back. You want.
No.
No, you.
When I
Order.
do or not.
Yeah.
All that I'm saying is, I did not say that.
Right. Okay. You inferred it. Would that be fair?
No.
All right. Okay. All right. So you've got no view on it, although you spoke about it for 5 minutes. Let's move on to Kisgrove then. So I was desperately trying not to be angry about this. The Shared Services Hub was in the original application because it was needed in the town centre. And the 4 projects that are suggested, and I take what Paul said, that they've not been fully signed off yet, but it looks like these are the 4 projects that are going to happen. They do not directly replace what that hub would have been by resurfacing a road next to the town hall, by putting some one-way streets in, does not replace what that hub was going to be. So I won't make it all about me and Stephen. So from your point of view, Simon, how can we justify that to the people of Kisgrove that it seems very much, and it might just be coincidence, that everything that was planned in Newcastle is going to go ahead? And 2 of the major projects out of the 4, one of which isn't in Kisgrove, aren't going to go ahead in any way, shape or form. And anybody who claims that they are going to be is telling mistruths. So how big a loss is it that the hub isn't going to take place in the way that it was meant to be in the first place?
There are 4 schemes in the Kidsgrove Town Centre Town Deal Board, not 3. There are 4. Chatterley Valley has been delivered and is successful. The canal pathways have been done. Each of those 4 formed part of a town deal investment plan that was submitted to the government for a much higher amount. So we put in a whole heap of schemes that were going to 23, 25 million. We didn't get anywhere near that, so we scaled it back. So whilst we weren't able to deliver the shared service hub because of justifiable reasons of perspective, all prospective tenants walked away. Now, I can't build a building that will just sit there as a white elephant. That would be, the town deal wouldn't allow it, the government wouldn't allow it, and the council certainly wouldn't allow it, because we'd end up running it and nobody was coming. So everybody that said they were coming, when we put the tip together, we designed it up, circumstances changed for everybody across the board and they all withdrew from the project. So yes, it is a loss to Kidsgrove, but at the same time, we've gone back to that original list that was put together through a process of consultation with the people of Kidsgrove and identified 4 other projects that would backfill that shared service hub. They will deliver the outputs of each of those that were identified in the TIP or the town investment plan. They won't and can't replicate the outputs that were going to be delivered by the shared service hub because they're completely different. But once we had tried literally everything to try and get that shared service hub up and running, we had it designed, we had it costed, we were ready to go. But one by one, the prospective tenants fell away and there was nothing we could do because every one of those tenants had a justifiable financial or operational reason to withdraw. We could not deliver it, so we had to go to plan B, and plan B will deliver for Kidsgrove in the way that the consultation at the very start of the process requested, but they were schemes that we were not able to deliver as part of the package that we were given by government. So the withdrawing of the shared service hub has allowed us to bring those projects that were on the reserve list into the list.
In the same vein, so Kidsgrove train station is the only train station in the borough. And we've talked tonight, and I understand from a financial point of view about risk. What is the opportunity cost of not doing a significant piece of work on Kidsgrove Station if we're just going to put, and I know EMR haven't come back yet, but it's going to be the same building. I believe that's a given. They're not going to mess with the building. So if we're talking about putting a little bit of cladding up on the side of the building and painting it, that's not the once in a lifetime opportunity that was sold to the people of Kidsgrove 2, 3, 4 years ago. It's a pivotal piece of infrastructure to the borough. And it seems to me, and many of the residents in Kidsgrove, that this is the one that probably could have been fought for a little bit, and a little risk should have been taken. For somebody to sit in this room and tell me that they didn't know that there was mine shafts 100 yards away from a building that was built a year ago, or 2 years ago now, we knew they were there. Why wasn't that put into the original costing in the first place so that this project could take place? Where's the contingency? We've managed to spend 9/10 of the management fees on the Kidsgrove town deal. But where is the delivery? We spent a lot of money on consultants, and I'll take your point, 3 of the 5 projects have been delivered, and the other 2 are simply not going to be. And I think I understand what you're saying. I know what you're saying about we could, for the hub, we're going to put 4 of the smaller projects on the reserve list. There is nothing on a reserve list that will replace the loss of a generational change at Kidsgrove train station.
Okay, can you wrap up there so that we can ask our officer to give a response?
Thank you. The allegation that we did not look into the fact that there was coal mining under that train station is a little disingenuous, because we all knew it was there. What we were told categorically at the time by the owners, Network Rail, that it didn't matter to them. There was a very, very, very different approach to that site when we started looking at this scheme. When we got the town deal money and we started looking into this, attitudes changed completely. That risk, which was a high risk with a low likelihood of happening, became a high risk with high risk of happening literally overnight. And Network Rail changed the game. We were then told, that we could not do anything unless we fixed the ground underneath. That had never been in the game to start with, and we were talking to them at the time. It wasn't like we thought, because the bridge that went over the track and that whole new car park was plagued with coal mining remediation works, etc. So we were all aware of it. Absolutely. Were we told it didn't matter? Yes, we were. That's why there was no money in it. When it became apparent that we needed to do the works, there were various means for us to access funding to do those works, and this is what we were told along the way. And it's an unfortunate, when you look back at it, it looks like it's been going on for years and we've had nothing to do with it. The first thing that happened was HS2 was cancelled. That lessened the importance of rail travel from Kidsgrove to Crewe to access HS2, that was going to have an operational issue on the train station. We were then told by the government that the HS2 monies were going to be reallocated or I can't think of the word now, but into a transport fund across the regions, and we would access that money, and that money would be given to Staffordshire County Council as the accountancy body, and we could bid into that. We spoke to Staffordshire County Council. We're on that list. It's the local transport fund. That money never arrived. So even if we had done the remediation work, that was where we were going to pay for it from. That money never arrived. So we then had to look at another option. And I don't remember it, but several years ago, there were discussions where the chair of Network Rail and DFT ministers were brought to Kidsgrove to explain this very issue that had suddenly arrived. Network Rail were not moving. They were not budging from this new position. So we then had to think, well, where else are we going to get this money? So there was discussions at government where another pot of money was going to be accessed for us to be able to do this remediation. And at the same time, we were having conversations with MHCLG about just get the remediation done, because you need to know what you don't know under the ground. And when we got to a point of actually think, right, okay, we will do the remediation, that's when they changed the game and said, but if you do spend the money and you can't fund the remediation, that's a waste of money. And at the same time as that discussion hit us, that second pot of money evaporated. So there is now no money for remediation. And we have been trying, and it's not for want of trying, it is a lack of availability of funds from various pots of people and people changing the game, and very, very, very slow responses from everybody involved that we've been trying to get this clarified with. Yes, it is an important issue for Kidsgrove, and we are doing everything we can to make it the best it can be within the very reducing parameters that we find ourselves in. So is it a beautification project? Absolutely at this point. But is that what's needed for that train station to be used more? Probably, because people might use the train station more if it's an attractive, safe-looking, pleasant environment. We found that with all sorts of new buildings that you put up, people show more interest and stuff. So that is now the plan. We need to, and that is why we are addressing the approaches to the train station. That is why we are doing with the meadows. That's why we're doing with the pedestrian, the public realm, to make Kidsgrove have a small facelift, which will be the start of something, rather than, well, we can't do anything, we're just going to leave it as it is.
Microphone, Councillor Stubbs, for the record.
Yeah, sorry, can I ask what because I would like to think you're not going to spend the full amount that was set aside for Kidsgrove. I know you will have spent some money on project management, but what are you going to do with the rest of the money, and Paul might be able to answer, that was earmarked for the station that now won't be spent on the station?
At the moment, we are waiting for the proposals from EMR. As I've said, we don't know what those proposals are, and we don't know what those costings are at the moment. We have given them that budget to spend to see what we don't want to spend 100 grand if we can spend $1 million, because $1 million will look and feel and address a lot more issues. They're not just going to paint the windows and walk away and put a plant pot up. They're going to see, how they can maximise the spend to maximise the impact of that project. If there is any money left over, that is for the town deal board to reconsider what might then come in as a plan B, as we've done with the shared service hub. We will not, or are not looking to give any of that money back to government. And MHCLG are working really hard with us not to give that money back, because they don't want it given back either.
Okay, Councillor Waring, did you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just a couple of points on that. As Simon's already said, the feeling at the town deal board, in my opinion, at the beginning of the year was that it would have actually gone ahead with the ground investigation works if it hadn't been for the government moving its position, because the way we felt at the time, and we discussed it, was that it would still be worthwhile doing that, so that it would speed up the process if somebody was then to come along with some more money. But government department's position has changed, and so it then puts the borough council into a very risky position. And the other point I just wanted to make was that the one-way streets and the public realms works in Kidsgrove were always part of the plan. It's not something that's just been slipped in. That was always part of the plan. So what you had was that the shared services hub, although it was called the shared services hub, it always incorporated public realm works and one-way streets and things like that being dealt with. So that's been worked on for several years. It's not something that we're looking into now. It would, well, the speed that certain other bodies work at would make it impossible. I think the main change is really that what the funding that would have been used for the shared services hub is now going into the small units on the opposite the meadows and to the King's School. And the building that's going to be built at the King's School, assuming that it all goes ahead, should fulfil those aspects of the original plan that were incorporated into it for mental health and adult education and those sorts of things that can be done without actually having a building where we originally were going to locate it. And as Simon's already said, the other agencies that we would have liked to have in there have pulled out. So it really doesn't have the same bearing on the actual location of it. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit more. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Councillor Waring. I know you're here to do scrutiny and not to receive scrutiny, but Councillor Stubbs, you may wish to ask further questions.
No, just to close it, I don't want it to go on. I do have concerns, Simon, about the fact that EMR have been given a cost envelope. I can't understand how, I mean, a private company will spend any money they're given. Of course they will. But that building, I think it incredulous to think that they can spend, was it 3 million? 3 odd million on that building, unless they're going to turn it into a 5-story, swimming pool at the back, which would be fine. I mean, I'll sign that off. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to do that. So my concern is that they're going to come back with something that might even cost $1 million, probably. But what are we going to do with that extra money? Or do you think actually, and I know I don't want to put you on the spot because it's not fair, because you have not seen the plans, but do you think it's possible they could come back with something that is so out of the box that it might be that actually it's okay, it's not going to be what we wanted, but actually it's going to be 90% of it, and it'd be great. People like me can support it.
In terms of the first point, value for money, we've given them a budget envelope to work within so they don't go over it. That doesn't mean to say that they need to spend all of it. It needs to be justifiably, and it needs to go through an economic assessment and value for money. So if it is so outlandish and ridiculously expensive, it wouldn't pass muster anyway. So please guarantee that that is our job to make sure that that doesn't happen. Will they come back with something jaw-dropping? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I've got 2 weeks to wait, and we'll see what they come through then. And again, as I've said, if all of that 3 million something isn't spent, we then look at Plan B or the reserve list for more schemes.
We go. We all wait with bated breath to see what EMR come up with. There was some robust scrutiny there. Councillor Stubbs began by asking, of the 4 town deal projects in Kidsgrove, 2 of them 5. Two of the town deal projects in Kidsgrove have not been or cannot be delivered to their original specifications, and the question was asked why. It seems to me the answer is entirely outside of this authority's power to have changed. If it relates to partners and the way in which partners behave, looking particularly at the partners who would have been tenants in the shared service hub, and looking particularly at Network Rail in relation to the railway station, it is difficult for me to see what this authority could have done differently in order to achieve a different outcome. And what we're here to do is to hold our administration and our officers to account. Speaking of partners and moving away from Kidsgrove, in relation to Nutton, one of the projects, the Village Hall, requires a partner to become a tenant. And our report tonight tells us that support staffs are actively seeking or looking for a partner to be effectively the organisation that runs that facility. Is the portfolio holder or officer able to give us any information about what progress perhaps has been made on that?
I'll pass that over to the officer, yeah. Yes, we have. Support Staffordshire are talking to a group led by Councillor Grocott, hopefully, who are looking to create a community interest group that will then take that on. There is a formulation process that needs to be done first before we'll order that work, but Councillor Grocott is heavily involved in that with his group, hopefully.
There you go, one of our own. Councillor Dean, you are the member representing Nutton. Are you aware of this, and are you plugged in to that process? Because, of course, the one thing that we all want to see is another project on this town deal, this Future High Streets Fund, this enormous collective of government money being spent and delivered to fruition. Your microphone, yeah, one of them ought to work, I think.
The last committee meeting I actually attended, Economy and Place Scrutiny, they did actually say that the Village Hall was in doubt. Hopefully it won't be.
I was at the same meeting and I was silent at that point because I knew that we would have the opportunity tonight to discuss it. That being the case, I've got no further questions relating to Nutton. Councillor Grocott, would you like to say something?
Yeah, okay. Regarding that, there are different things there. As soon as I know more, I will come back to Simon on that, obviously. The main point I was going to come back, actually, was to, obviously, my own ward in Chesterton. And everybody's saying how well it's looking at the moment. Just want to congratulate everybody that the actual houses look absolutely phenomenal. So going forward, it's really good. What I would like to say for the next report, can we have a better picture, please, with all the actual houses up, basically, rather than the building site? Okay.
Yes, there are lots of lovely illustrations in our report, but not one of completed and beautiful looking houses at Cross Street, Chesterton. So that absolutely is a request that I would second from the chair. And if the people producing the report could honour us at the next meeting, I'm sure we'd be delighted. Councillor Stubbs.
Yeah, just with regard to Nottingham and obviously support staff have been mentioned, just to declare an interest, I sit on the board at VAST. I know there's already conversations happening between Support Staffordshire and VAST about how they might work together and how they might split things across Staffordshire. It would be highly likely the Support Staffordshire would move south and disappear out of Newcastle. Is that going to have an effect on anything in the short term with them supporting projects, for example? Because those conversations are quite advanced. I mean, we don't know what's going to come out of the review that comes out in November or post a bit. I suspect the last response has to be in by November for the government realignment. But under that, VAST and Support Staffordshire are already talking about the Support Staffordshire will deal with the south and VAST will deal with the north. So any project, I suppose my question is, Support Staffordshire have already got one foot out the door. Are we aware of that in this room? Because I'm aware of it. And two, will that have an effect on any of the projects that are currently underway?
Yes and no. Because Support Staffordshire are facilitating discussions to create the group. The emphasis will be on the group to incorporate itself and won't require support staff or VARSEX assistance at that point, because they will be a fully operate. And the sooner the better that group sets itself up, the sooner I can order the works for the Village Hall. And the timescale for VARS and Support Staffordshire's amalgamation is irrelevant.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Phenomenal. Are there any further questions or comments, or shall I hand it over to Councillor Sweeney to wrap up? Councillor Sweeney, take it away.
Thank you. Only a couple of things. It's for you, Councillor Stubbs, really, surprising enough. I don't know why you hate the jobs at Chatley Valley so much. 1,700 jobs. A lot of those people live in Kidsgrove. You are? Well, no, it's not finished yet. But the people there will be people there will be working, will be living in Kidsgrove, I'm sure. There won't be sort of a Berlin Wall built. No, you can't. You live in Kidsgrove, you can't work here. The swimming pool it didn't help, did it? Your election things. But I also recall a bit of a fiasco with the actual election itself, which I think was probably more to part. But I may be wrong. But that was my feeling on it. You give the impression that everything changes in Kidsgrove, but in Newcastle, it's just bang, this is what we're doing. Jobs are good and that. But we were going to have a major HQ of a local company was going to go on the Rycroft. They changed their mind, so it all changed. We were going to have on top of George Street the flats there that are going there. They were going to be a lot bigger than they are now, but that's been brought down in size. There's other things you can think of that change. It's a fluid process, and these things change and adapt and made to fit the money that we've got, or this sort of thing. And I think it's just the way of these things are developed. And I think the Newcastle ones, it's gone very well, but they have changed over the last couple of years. Probably changed for the better, to be honest with you. But they have changed, and these things do just change. And I don't think Newcastle is any different from Kidsgrove on that. We will just change and move with the times. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sweeney, and thanks to members and officers for a very detailed debate. I think we've covered a lot of ground there, and I repeat what I said at the start of the meeting. I think the scrutiny work this committee does is much better than any other committee of the council. The next and final item on our agenda will be the work programme, excluding the things that we're not going to discuss. 7, 8 and 9. The work programme then tells me at the next meeting will be a very long meeting, unlike this one, which has been brief. 4th of September, we'll be looking at the MTFS Q1 financial report, the commercial strategy update, the Town Deal Future High Street Fund update, and an item on civic pride and empowering our communities, a strategy of the administration that has been already active now for some time, hasn't it? We've had civic pride events occurring across the borough. I know many people have participated and supported those. That being the case, I've got no real space to add anything to the work programme. Item number 7, public question time. There are no public questions that I'm aware of. Item number 8 is urgent business. There is no urgent business under the relevant section of the relevant act of which I'm aware. And our next meeting, item number 9, will be on the 4th of September at 7 p.m. Thank you very much and good night.